Hi children, how are you all? This is Archie ma'am. I'm back with the next video. Okay. So the smile on your face, tells me that you are waiting for me to come through the video. And you don't know how it encourages me. Keep up the smile, okay? Keep smiling always, no matter what. That will help you in moving throughout the day. That will help you in going forward. Okay. So with that idea, we start today's video. All right. Now, before I start, I'll give you a quick recapitulation of the earlier video. There we read about a story called The Legend of Spud Murphy. We saw the characters Will, Marty, then Martin, their mom, dad, the librarian, Mrs. Murphy. Why do the children call them Spud Murphy? We went into the details of the character. Okay, we read the dialogues happening, and we came out with better ideas of communicating. You know, some new ideas. I asked you to give some new ideas for the story, some other dialogues also happening in the story, and I hope you all have done your task. Great. Now we, we'll start today's lesson. So today I'll tell you a fantasy story. Stories happening beyond our the real frame of our life. That's called fantasy stories. It only happens in our dreams. We can think about it. Those are called fantasy stories. Okay. This one is called Where the Mountain Meets the Moon. In your book, you are given the first extract of the story. If you're interested, you can also go through the entire story. You can Google it up. You can see you can find the entire story. You can read it if you're interested further. Now, starting with the story. Okay. Far away from here, following the Jade River, there was a black mountain which penetrated into the sky. It seemed like it's cut through the sky, like a sharp stone cutting through the sky. Villagers call this mountain Fruitless Mountain because nothing grew on it. Life was not possible on it. No birds or animals could rest there. That's why it was called as Fruitless Mountain by the villagers. Now, at the corner of the mountain, where the mountain met the river, there was a small village. Village was of a shade of dull brown. Okay, a faded brown color. Why? The land there, it was a barren land. It was not possible to grow anything on it. The villagers had to toil hard and used to coax, means persuade the crops to grow, persuade the rice to grow on it. They used to toil throughout the day. They used to flood the fields with water. They used to stamp on it, and they used to work hard, but only few crops grew. And throughout the day they're working in the mud, and the mud getting dried up in the sun, in their clothes, in their hair. Okay, the village in this process slowly turned out to be of the color brown, of a dull color brown. Okay, one of the houses of the village was so small that it looked like a matchbox. In the It looked like a matchbox. There lived a small family, okay, of Minli, her mom, and her dad. Now, their rooms, the house was so small that their room, they did not allow space for more than three people to sit together. Thank God there were three. Otherwise, had it been a four-member family, they would have found it difficult to live in that house. Okay. So somehow they managed there, with that, in that barren village. This family lived. In this family, there was a little daughter, Minli, as we just discussed. Minli was not dull and brown like the rest of the village. She had black hair. Her eyes, always had a sparkle. She had a flash of smile which lit up anybody's day just by looking at her. She had pink cheeks. She was different. When people saw her lively and impulsive nature, they thought this name Minli suited her well, because the meaning of the name Minli is quick thinking. Okay. Now, Minli's family, like the rest of the villagers, were very poor. They could hardly harvest enough rice to feed themselves. And Minli's mom would always sigh. Ah, ah. I mean, she would always sigh. Minli did not remember a moment when her mom did not sigh. Okay. All the money that the family had were two old copper coins on a blue rice ball with a rabbit painted on it, and that belonged to Minli because it was given to her on her birthday. She kept it safely, and that was there with her for as long as she can remember. It was with her. Okay. Now, what you can ask here, that the entire situation is so grim, so dull. How was Minli not a part of it? What kept Minli from being a part of that gray, that dull and boring, a part of the dull and boring villagers? Why wasn't she one of them? She was a little different. What made her different? Her father's stories. After the dinner, her father would tell her all those stories. After listening to the stories, she used to glow with wonder and excitement. That even made her mom smile. Okay. And when dad used to say the stories, there was a sparkle in his eyes also. He used to leave away, he used to leave back all his tiredness and dullness behind when he was saying the story. He was in a different world altogether. And Millie used to travel beyond the stories to a world of fantasy. That kept her going. After dinner, today, like every day after dinner, Minli asked her dad to tell her the story of Fruitless Mountain. So her dad says, "You already know the story, Minli. How many times should I tell you that story?" Minli says, "Tell me, dad, once again. Why is it called Fruitless Mountain? Why doesn't anything grow on it?" Then dad again, he sets aside his chopsticks, and starts telling the story with a sparkle in his eyes that looked like the raindrops shining in the sunlight. Okay. Now this is the part of the story where the mountain meets the moon. Okay. These few paragraphs have been taken from the story, and if you go through your book, okay, you will find with every with every paragraph, new plots have been defined, new characters have entered with every, new settings have been discussed with every new paragraph. All right, you will find some verbs, they're underlined verbs. You try to find out the meaning of the verbs and replace it with another verb. Say for example, coax, tramp. What is the meaning of these words? In your book, there's a box, you know the meanings of these words are written in that box, and you should match the meanings with the words. For example, coax means persuade, tramp means walk heavily. Like that, you have to find out the meanings and replace the verbs with another, their synonyms. Now you think about the characters, the plot, and the setting in the story. What does this tell you? Think about it. Okay. Now that you have gone through the story, this part of the story, we will talk about the ideas in the paragraph. We will jumble up the ideas. The paragraphs are here, the ideas that speak about the paragraphs are jumbled. You have to uh, order them in the correct sequence. Okay. Say, number one, Milli's home and family are introduced. Millie asks her father to tell her a story. More than one paragraph has been devoted to this line. Millie asks her father to tell a story. Where and whenever it is, you have to put in. The setting for the village is described. Fruitless Mountain is introduced. Why Mill is different is explained. Clues about the plot are given. Now let me help you. When you go through the story, which of these ideas come first? Fruitless Mountain is introduced first. Then the setting for the village is described. Minley's home and family are introduced. Why Minley is different is explained. Clues about the plots are given. Minley asks her father to tell her a story. Okay? One by one, you have to number them. You have to write them in your notebook. Alright? Now also discuss why the author started each new paragraph. Well, definitely to give, new, the developments of new plots have been introduced with each paragraph. More detailing of the situation of the villagers of Minley's family have been given. Why Mill is different? It's explained in those paragraphs. Why is the village so dull and so brown? Okay, why are the villagers poor? Why are they why aren't there enough food to feed all the villagers in the village? So each and every paragraph is dedicated to these ideas, these developments. Okay, that's why the author started each new paragraph. Now, as you can see, there are certain pictures of book covers of how this the covers of this book, where the mountain meets the moon, can look like. Look at the covers. What do they say? What do you find in these covers? Do they give you a hint of the plot? Which one suits the story, the plot so far the best? Try to find out the nouns and adjectives in the name of the cover. Okay. Now we choose books according to the book description that's given in the very beginning. Okay, you see there's a description of this book where the mountain meets the moon is also given. Okay, read that. Okay, and according to that description, answer these questions. Which words in the title points it to be a fantasy story? What details in the book description say it as well? Which of these parts in the story's main idea? Which of these plots is the story's main idea? Saving village by finding a way to make things grow on. Fruitless mountain again. Getting lost in a fantasy world on the moon. You can, all these plots can be the story's main idea. You have to choose which one you think is the best plot for the story's main idea. Okay. Now here, these are a few settings in the story and the character. Few settings have been listed. The village location, its color, the climate, the villagers' problem. Write 2 sentences about these settings. After having read the story, read few sentences about this. Then character, you see what Minley's name means. What does Minley mean? It means quick thinking. How she's different from the other villagers? What makes her different? Write 2 sentences of each, okay? What name would you give to Minley's village? Give reasons. You can give your own names. You can come up with your ideas. Each and every idea is welcome. Discuss how the setting is similar to or different from the area where you live. Draw your impression of the village and write 2 or 3 sentences explaining whether you would like to live there and why. Think about it. Write these 3 answers in your notebook. That is your today's task, okay? What name would you give to Minley's village? Give reasons. Discuss how the setting is similar to or different from the area where you live. Draw your impression of the village and write 2 or 3 sentences explaining whether you would like to live there and why. All these are given in your book. Okay, go through these questions and answer them. You'll see you can get the ideas from the story itself, but while you're writing the answers, close your book. Come up with ideas of your own. Don't refer to the book always. Okay, that's just a suggestion. Now, one more fun task I'll give you. Minley's character has been described, right? How she's different, how she looks like, So, draw Minley. According to the impression that the story has given you, draw Minley. In your rough book, you don't have to do it in your school notebook. Draw Minley and paint it and show me in the class. All right? So, hope this task you'll have lots of fun doing the second task mainly. So with this note, okay, I'll end today's class. Stay safe, children. Bye bye.